Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, Ms. Poldberg.
Thank you.
Please be seated and get comfortable, and you may begin with your opening statement.
Thank you very much. This down a little bit. Good morning to the commissioners and to the people of Iowa who are listening. My name is Mindy Larsen Poldberg. I would first like to thank you for this extraordinary opportunity. If you had told me when I was growing up in rural Iowa during the farm crisis that I would have a chance to interview to be an Iowa Supreme Court justice, I would have told you that I was dreaming. Instead, here I am today, getting a chance to look for a job where I could work for the benefit of freedom, truth, and justice. Today is not a dream, and regardless of what happens from here, I am both humbled and proud to be here, as evidence to every child of poverty, to every young adult scraping by on ramen noodles and working part-time to make it through college, that it is possible, with years of hard work and a lot of patience, to rise above your given circumstances to chase your dream. I realize that I am a non-traditional candidate for the Iowa Supreme Court, not having yet been a judge. But one need only look to examples of the justices of the U.S. Supreme Court to see many examples of extraordinary lawyers appointed directly to the High Court, such as William Rehnquist and Elena Kagan. Along with an amazing field of candidates today, I can assure you that I have the intellect, strength, and skills required for this position. I graduated 5th in my class of law school, even while working every day from 5 to 8 a.m. before classes for a mortgage company, and 2 to 3 nights a week as a waitress besides. I have been practicing law for more than 20 years, since passing the bar in 1998. I can and would excel at the core functions of this job. I am fully capable of reading briefs, legal research, understanding oral arguments, and writing judicial opinions. But my pragmatic decision-making skills are perhaps my greatest strength that I would bring to this court. Early in my career, I had the opportunity to represent our clients in litigation, from depositions to hearings, from arbitrations to trials. Unlike the work of most associate attorneys, my partners at the firm truly believed in trial by fire and allowed me to have direct trial and trial prep experience right away. And for that, I am truly grateful. My judicial experience has continued over the years in a different manner, as I have worked in-house for the corn growers. Through Iowa and our national group, we are often involved in lawsuits of precedential value to farmers, whether through funding, through an amicus brief, as an intervener, or as a plaintiff. My role with at least one case per year is to coordinate with and advise our board and participate in the case through what is commonly known as litigation management. From the in-house perspective, I have not recently been the out-front lawyer in the trial, but like thousands of other Iowa lawyers, we are the lawyers behind the scenes for the trials that come before our courts. Next, I would like to talk with you about the 5 specific reasons that I believe this court would be even stronger if you choose me to be on it. First, because I've worked with farmers for the past 20 years, I have learned to write summaries of laws and cases in a way that non-lawyers can easily understand. I write and speak in a direct and concise manner. Imagine a justice that always aspires to write case decisions in a clear and concise manner so that all Iowans can easily understand the decisions of the court. With clear opinions, the litigants better understand why it is that they have won or lost, but just as important, the public better understands the decision, and this ensures future compliance with the law. Laws are not primarily made to punish criminals. Rather, our hope is that the crimes will not be committed. The same legal compliance goal is true with court opinions, whether civil or criminal in its matter. Second, because I have worked in my entire career for farmers, I have a wide experience in the most core issues affecting Iowa's economy. As a family with 4 girls, we all worked outside on the farm. We knew the value of the land and the livestock. For as long as I remember, I learned the value of hard work, both with your hands and with your brain, in order to feed the world. Agriculture is not a narrow field of law. It includes energy, conservation, water quality, taxes, regulations, contracts, insurance, real estate, government programs, and many more. The law is the law, and a judge must follow the law to its end. However, I believe when applying facts to the law that my personal experience in agriculture is vital to Iowa's economy, and this would be a help to the Supreme Court. Third, in recent years, as a foster and adoptive parent, I have been intimately engaged with the laws and procedures surrounding the children of our state who are most in need. I have witnessed the hard work and dedication of our state social workers. I have experience with the DHS foster care system regarding removal and help with rehabilitation of parents. I have seen our widespread impact of substance abuse upon our state's most fragile, our children. A large percentage of the court's cases involve children, and my personal experiences would bring value to the court when evaluating these critically important issues for Iowa's future, our children. Fourth, I believe I would strengthen the court because I have experience in all three branches of government, not just the judicial branch. I have worked for more than 20 years with the legislature and the executive branch, as well as the judicial branch, both in Iowa and with our federal government. My experience would be an asset to the court in evaluating those laws passed by our legislature and the regulations that are coming through our executive branch. Fifth, in my years of experience, I have honed my skills as a collaborator and a coalition builder. Agriculture is a small industry, and to find success, one must partner with other groups, other states, and often other industries in order to achieve positive results. My method of being hard on issues but soft on people would assist the court in having collegial discussions but staying strong on the merits and the law. For a court must ultimately come together to form a majority opinion, and the ability to bring others along to your way of thinking is a critical skill. In conclusion, I believe that my non-traditional legal experience is an asset. My very different experiences and background would bring diversity of thought to this court for the benefit of all Iowans. I am a fierce fighter, dedicated to fair and impartial justice, and if you give me this chance, I will utilize my skills and passion for the law to the best of my ability in proud service to my home state of Iowa. Thank you.
Thank you. And so the commission will now take a few moments to ask you some questions, and we'll start with Mr. Sukup.
Good morning, Ms. Poldberg.
Good morning.
In our visit, you mentioned how you're more of a non-traditional candidate, but one of the areas you did talk a fair amount on was your foster family and your foster care. Could you expand on that?
I can. My husband and I are the proud parents of 8 children in our family right now. We have 2 biological children, 3 children who are adopted, and 3 additional foster children in our house right now. It is the greatest joy of my life to be able to give back not only to our community and to our world, but to help the children of our state. I do believe that to whom much is given, much is expected, and so we have dedicated our personal life to working in this area, and it hasn't been work, it has been our greatest joy, to be honest with you. I do believe that in this process, I could bring a benefit to the court because of there are a very large majority of cases that come before the court that either involve family law, juvenile law, and in particular, there are a lot of cases involving termination of parental rights. I would bring with me an understanding that it is when you can rehabilitate a parent and bring that family back together, that would be the first goal, but where you cannot do that, you must look to the best interest of the child. And so I would bring with me an opportunity to look at these cases in a fair way, but knowing how deeply important they are, perhaps life and death, when they are coming before the Iowa Supreme Court.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Valentine? No questions. Mrs. Sinclair?
No questions.
Ms. Conover?
No questions.
Mr. Berger?
No questions.
Mr. Goodman?
Ms. Poldberg, thank you for your application. In light of what you've labeled non-traditional background and your connection to agriculture and the importance that role serves in Iowa, I'd like to hear your views on what the Supreme Court is primarily responsible for, which is the administration of justice and the delivery of justice in the state of Iowa, and your views in particular on the current system of 99 courthouses throughout the state of Iowa versus some debate over consolidating those services into regions.
Right. Well, first of all, I would like to point out that as a member of the management team of the Iowa Corn Growers Association, I am accustomed to, and as part of my job, help manage millions of dollars every year. I think I could also bring some budget management experience to this court when trying to decide how to spend your scarce resources in order to bring justice to every Iowan, to make sure that every Iowan has an opportunity to be heard in their cases, to meet that core function, but also try to do so in a more economical way because we have scarce resources coming into the future. Want to talk about the courthouses in particular, I will say that I would bring an open mind to this issue because I do realize that we have to think about how to provide this service in a way that we will have declining resources. However, I think you must be very careful prior to making a decision in this manner, because it is more than just the justices in the courthouses at the county levels. I have lived in rural Iowa almost all of my life, and the county courthouse is certainly kind of the core of those county seat communities. And it's not only the clerk of court and the judges that are there, it's the county supervisors, it's the treasurers, often the county sheriff, and all of those offices. So I would like to think that I could bring my coalition building and collaboration skills into this issue as well, to reach out and work with our county partners to see if there are additional efficiencies that could take place.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bloom?
Yeah, it might be an extension of what you just said, but in our discussion, we talked some about the Board of Waterworks Trustees, City of Des Moines, versus Sac City Board of Supervisors Drainage District. If you live in Blackhawk County, you were aware of that.
Yes.
When it was developed. And you talked about the good of the whole and bringing a collaboration of parties, not named in the suit, but a lot of people have an interest in the drainage districts. And it sort of surprised me that access to justice sort of was part of that. You know, you had to identify who all the interested parties were and to help pay for the legal costs
Yes.
of defending that. So in the Supreme Court, you know, we want them to look past just the case, but also the broader impact. Do you think your experience in these coalitions is relevant there?
Yes, in fact, I think that my skills are best placed with the Iowa Supreme Court, particularly because of this impact. The cases that come before the Iowa Supreme Court are absolutely for those litigants. They have an actual problem that needs to be solved and a decision that needs to be made. However, the Iowa Supreme Court chooses cases that have a greater impact for the state of Iowa. A greater impact, for example, in that case was for agriculture, for water quality, certainly, and for the citizens, making sure that this issue is weighed by the highest court in our state. Our particular role as corn growers, this would be an example where I would have been working on that case, not in front of the court as the trial lawyer, but behind the scenes to help with our board of directors, with gathering our farmers, and certainly as Iowa corn growers, this is public information, but we helped to provide funding for the county governments that needed to be able to defend themselves in this lawsuit so that all of the information could be heard and they would have an opportunity to take this case to court.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bevel?
Thank you. Today you used the phrase hard on issues, soft on people. What does that mean?
Yes. I have used this phrase for a very long time with our farmers. And what I mean by that, for example, if we're going to bring a group of farmers to the Iowa State House, as we will in a couple of weeks, I say we want to be hard on our issues. That means, our issues are important. We are going to go to the Capitol. We're going to talk about water quality. We're going to talk about conservation. We're going to talk about the concerns that we have. We're going to be hard on our issues, firm on them. They are serious issues that we have that we need to bring. The same thing would be true in working with the court. So your issues are important. You will be firm on those. Stay firm with those issues. But we should be soft on people. We should act in a professional way, in a polite way. We can have an opportunity to have conversations where you and I might be in direct conflict, but we can do so in a manner where you and I can still speak as a person afterwards. And that is a theme that I have tried to live my life throughout my entire career, and I think that particular theme that I have would be great for this Iowa Supreme Court in coming to its decisions as well.
Ms. Law.
Thank you for your application. I'm also an Iowa farm girl. I'd like to know what, growing up on a farm, what particular thing you learned from that experience that will help you on the court.
Yes, well, first of all, I grew up on a farm. We had 4 girls in our family, and everyone was expected to work just the same. And perhaps if there had been a boy, life might have been different. But I will tell you that from the very beginning, it was clear to me that girls could do everything that boys could do. And we did that physical work on the farm just the same. So I learned to drive a tractor very young, obviously. I learned to work on our organic fertilizer constantly throughout my life with our livestock. And it really working with your hands and knowing that you're contributing to the safety and well-being of the animals and making sure that they're fed. All of those skills really, number one, bring your core to agriculture. You cannot help but grow to love this land that we live in, and that I have done. I have a deep appreciation for the farmers of our state and how hard they work in order to bring the food to our country. But it also, made me realize that there are areas, even if I'm not physically working on the farm, where I could be a benefit to farmers. And that's why I chose the career path that I did, to work with the law and my love of the law, but in a way that could be to the benefit of our farmers in this state.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Spies.
Thank you, Ms. Poldberg. Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to follow up on Mr. Bevel's comment about your motto. And as I thought about that, I'm trying to envision you in oral argument, whether that's a source of anxiety or comfort to me. Anyway, you talked about your great administrative skills, and that certainly is a strength that you would be able to bring to the court. Lawyers are encouraged to have technological competence too, and tell us how you think your technological expertise could find root in the court.
Right. Well, first of all, I think that with declining resources, we're going to have to look as a court. The Supreme Court manages all of the court system, and we're going to have to be looking at ways to further use technology in order to save money and also still provide justice. For example, I had a medical appointment for my son this last year, and we had a doctor in the office, but we also had a specialist on the screen with telemedicine. Very strange to think about that, but sometimes that there are those opportunities, especially in rural Iowa, where we could perhaps utilize technology better to, again, ensure that core service is met, but do so in a technological way.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Horbach.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Using your own words, you said you had a traditional path. The legislature did not give us a traditional path to select a justice. And we've found in our experience over the last 18 months, there's a lot of applicants who fit into 2 classes. Those that are a very broad experience but not deep, and those that are very narrow experience but very deep. Is there one that serves Iowa better than the other of those 2 classes?
I do think that thank you for the question. I really appreciate that. I do think that you need justices of both kinds on the Supreme Court. I think that having a diversity of thought and diversity of opinion and way of thinking is actually helpful to our court. I believe that if I had to choose one, I would choose, I have been deep into my into my career. I have used the topic of agriculture, which is the majority of our economy, but we've worked on it in a deep way. For example, in the most recent issue of SRE, small refinery exemptions, that were a challenge for our farmers in our nation's ethanol policy involving the renewable fuel standard. What we do, or what I do particularly as a lawyer, is help our board to problem solve the issue. So in this case, we had a lawsuit which was filed in the 10th Circuit Court in 2018, which just recently had a decision come out. But in the meantime, we don't just wait for that. We went to the U.S. Congress to try to work with them to find a legislative solution to fix it for us. But also, in the meantime, we didn't wait for that. And we went to the regulatory agencies of the Environmental Protection Agency and worked with them for 2 straight years on trying to resolve this problem. So my experience, I believe, is best described as deep experience in the area of agriculture. However, with the following caveat that, as I explained, agriculture is a pretty wide field that impacts many issues of all small businesses and businesses in Iowa.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but we thank you for your application and thank you for coming here today and sharing with us.
It is my pleasure.
We wish
Thank
you
you.
well. Thank you.
Thank you.